Hi children, good morning to everyone. How are you all? Hope all are doing good and praying to be good children. So usually as we are in a life process chapter and we stopped in the transportation, we started the concept of transportation. So transportation is nothing but transfer of nutrients from one part to another throughout the body, transport of nutrients through the blood and through the lymph to all parts of the body is called transportation or circulatory system. In that already we discussed about the main component as a heart, structure of heart we discussed, the four chambers of the heart, the valves of the heart, the septum, the structure we discussed, and we discussed about the blood, three types of blood cells that are red blood cells, white blood cells and blood platelets we discussed. And also we discussed about blood vessels, arteries, veins and blood capillaries. So now let us see what is meant by cardiac cycle. Cardiac cycle means nothing but how the contraction and relaxation phases of the heart is controlling in a cyclic way, in a cyclic process. That is the concept today we are going to discuss in this particular topic. So, the particular topic of today is cardiac cycle in this session. So, let us move over to that. So, coming to the cardiac cycle, it is the cyclic contraction and relaxation of a heart for pumping the blood. So, in order to pump the blood, it is a continuous process. One contraction, one relaxation. Again, one contraction and one relaxation. It is a cyclic process. So, here we can find a phases of cardiac cycle, that is jointed diastole, atrial systole and ventricular systole. These are the phases we can find in the cardiac cycle. So coming to here, jointed diastole, it is the relaxed state of all heart chambers. When the tricuspid and bicuspid valves open, blood from the pulmonary vein and pulmonary vein and vena cava flow into our left and right ventricles. So respectively through left and right atria, semilunar valve are closed. So at this stage the semilunar valve will be closed. So SCAN generates the action potential. As a result, both the atria contracts. So it is called as atrial systole. So the increase in the flow of blood into the ventricles by about 30%. So the action potential is conducted to ventricular side, that is a AVN and AV bundle from the where bundle of his transmits it through the ventricular muscular. As a result, ventricles contract. So it is called as ventricular systole. During these, the atria undergo diastolic condition. So ventricular systole increases the ventricular pressure, causing closure of tricuspid and bicuspid valves due to attempted backflow of blood into a atria. So semilunar valves open, so deoxygenated blood enters the pulmonary artery from right ventricle and oxygenated blood enters into the aorta from the left ventricle. So the ventricles now relaxed, ventricular diastole, relaxing phase of ventricles, ventricular diastole, and the ventricular pressure falls, causing the closure of the semilunar valves, which prevents the backflow of the blood into the ventricles. So the tricuspid and bicuspid valves are open. Ventricles and atria again undergo joint diastole and cardiac cycle is repeated. A cardiac cycle is completed in 0.8 seconds. One complete contraction and relaxation phase of a heart is called cardiac cycle. It will be completed in a 0.8 seconds. One heartbeat is equal to a cardiac cycle. So, normal heartbeat of a person 70 to 85 times per a minute. So, average it can take as a 72 times per a minute. You can see here stroke volume and cardiac output. Volume of blood circle per a minute 70 into 72 times. So, it is a very high how much volume is transporting for each and every circle of a blood. How the heart gives the sound. During each cardiac cycle, two sounds are produced. So, the first sound is lub, is due to the closure of a tricuspid and bicuspid valves, and second sound is dub sound. It is due to the closure of the semilunar valve. So, one heartbeat is equal to a lub plus a dub. That is a heartbeat. So, we can say that the first sound is a lub. It is due to the closure of tricuspid valve and bicuspid valves. And the second sound is a dub sound. It is due to the closure of semilunar valve. So, tricuspid valve, bicuspid valve is closing means the right ventricle and left ventricle is receiving the blood from the the right ventricle and left ventricle is pushing the blood to the right ventricle push the blood to the lungs and left ventricle push the blood to the body parts. So it is a strong phase, need a much pressure. Okay, so it gives the sound of lub sound. Coming to the dub sound, when the blood is coming from the atria to the ventricles, at those times the atria will be closed and the ventricles will open. So the semilunar valve will be closed. That is a bicuspid valve, that is a semilunar valve closure gives the sound of dub sound. That means one heartbeat is equal to a lub plus a dub sound. So, whenever we get the heart problem, first the doctors used to suggest the ECG. So, what is meant by ECG? Electrocardiograph. ECG means electrocardiograph. It is an instrument used to obtain electrocardiogram. So, electrocardiogram is a graphical representation of electrical activity of heart during cardiac cycle. So, when this cardiac cycle is giving, it is given electronical representation. Okay. So, to get an ECG, a patient is connected to the machine with the 3 electrical leads, one to each wrist to the left ankle, and monitor heart activity for a detailed evaluation of heart's function. So, multiple leads are attached to the chest region. So, you can see here, an ECG consists of the following waves. P wave means represents the excitation, depolarization of atria which causes atrial systole. QRS complex represents depolarization of ventricles, ventricular systole. T wave represents the repolarization of ventricles. So, deviation in the ECG indicates the abnormality or the disease. So, ECG has a great clinical significance. Now, coming to the double circulation. It is the circulation in the which blood flows through the heart twice for completing the circuit. So, it includes pulmonary circulation or a systemic circulation. So, that means to complete one circulation, the blood will reach us to the heart for the 2 times. that we call it as a double circulation. Pulmonary circulation. Circulation between the lungs and heart. Deoxygenated blood from right ventricle to pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery to the lungs. Lungs to oxygenated blood to the pulmonary veins. To the left atrium. This is how the blood flows. So, the circulation between the lungs and heart. So, the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery carries to the lungs. From the pulmonary arteries, in the lungs, it will be oxygenated. This oxygenated blood goes to the pulmonary vein. From the pulmonary vein, reaches to the left atrium. From the left atrium again, it comes to the body parts. What is systemic cardiac circulation? So, coming to the systemic cardiac circulation, circulation between heart and various body parts. So, oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to aorta, aorta to arteries, arteries to arterioles, arterioles to capillaries, capillaries to tissues, and tissues, from the tissues, deoxygenated blood from the tissues, and venules, from the venules to veins, veins to vena cava to right atrium. So, the systemic circulation provides nutrients, oxygen and other substances to the tissues, and they take the carbon dioxide and other harmful substances away for the elimination. So, you can see here the pulmonary circulatory system. So, you can observe there from the how the blood is transporting. This is a picture of double circulatory system. It is very important for your examination purpose. So, pulmonary and systemic circulatory system. Now, let us see hepatic portal system. What is meant by hepatic portal system? It is a system which includes the hepatic portal vein that carries blood from intestine to liver before it is delivered to the systemic circulation. So, it reaches to the liver also in the process of that, we call it as a hepatic circulation. Next one is coronary circulatory system. We can see here coronary veins, coronary arteries. Arteries which are inside the heart are called as coronary arteries. Arteries which are insisted in the heart, the veins which are insisted in the heart are called as coronary veins. So, it is a system of coronary vessels that circulate blood to and from cardiac musculature. So, they will transport the blood. So, regulation of cardiac activity. The cardiac activity, sympathetic nervous of awareness increases the rate of heartbeat, that strength of the ventricular contraction and cardiac output. So, parasympathetic nervous system and ANS, autonomous nervous system, decreases the heartbeat, the conduction of action, potential and the cardiac output. So, other than circulatory system, in the circulatory system, another type of circulatory system is lymphatic system. So, it includes lymph vessels and lymph nodes, glands. As the blood passes through the capillaries in tissues, some water and soluble substances are filtered out from the plasma. Plasma to the intercellular spaces to form a tissue or interstitial fluid. So, it has same mineral distribution as that in a plasma. So, sometimes tissue fluid enters lymphatic system and the tissue fluid in them is called as lymph. It drains back to the major vein. So lymph is a colorless fluid containing lymphocytes. So why we call it as a tissue fluid? When the blood is floating in the blood vessels to all parts of the body, a little amount of blood will diffuses into the tissues. So it will call as a tissue fluid. Okay, the tissue fluid is nothing but it is called as a lymph. So this lymph is colorless fluid containing lymphocytes. So once you can see that lymphocytes, body cells, blood plasma, capillaries, lymphatic vessels, oxygenated blood at high pressure. This is a lymphatic system. So let us see the importance of lymphatic system. It is the middleman between blood and tissues. Middleman between the blood and tissues. Tissue fluid helps to exchange the nutrients, gases, etc. between blood and cells. So it carries plasma, proteins and synthesized liver to the blood. So transports digested fats to the lacteals in the intestinal villi. Fat, soluble vitamins, hormones, etc. The dissolved fat transported through the lacteal. It is the part of the lymphatic system. So filtration of bacteria and foreign particles. Lymph nodes produce WBC lymphocytes and antibodies. So the lymphatic system is also a transport system. It carries the plasma and nutrients also. So the diffused substances from the blood vessels is carried by lymphatic vessels and they will be connected to the venous system. That means a large vein, that is a caval veins, and again they transport it to the heart. Again heart pumps it to the lungs. Oxygenation takes place, again reach to the heart. Again the heart pumps the blood. Not only that, the lymphatic vessels collect the absorbed fatty substances, fatty acids and glycerols, digested fatty acids, because they cannot mix with the bloodstream. If these fatty acids and glycerols they mixed with the bloodstream, the blood becomes very thick and it may not transfer easily. That's why the fat separately will be conducted by the lymphatic vessels. So now how the heart works, how the heart pumps the blood, different types of blood groups, these all we discussed. Now let us see what are the disorders of the circulatory system. So first one is a hypertension, high blood pressure, or generally we call it as a high BP. Pressure of circulating blood on the walls of the blood vessels is called as a blood pressure. So normal blood pressure is 120 by 80 millimeters per mercury. It includes systolic pumping pressure 120 mm mercury and diastolic resting pressure 80 mm mercury. So when the blood pressure is higher than normal BP, it is called as high BP. If an individual repeatedly has the BP of 140 by 90 or above, it shows hypertension. So it leads to the heart diseases and affected vital organs like brain, kidneys, etc. So when the blood pressure is high than normal BP, it is called hypertension. If an individual repeatedly has this BP 140 by 90 or above, it shows that hypertension. So it leads to the heart diseases. So here some foods are given, natural foods, most which can reduce the high BP. You can see the cheese, watermelon, potato, broccoli, milk, kiwi fruits. These all they will reduce the hypertension. Next one is coronary artery diseases. Coronary artery diseases, shortly we call CAD or atherosclerosis. Here calcium, fat, cholesterol, fibrous tissues are deposited in the coronary arteries. So it makes the lumen of the artery narrow, thicken. So and thereby affected the blood supply. It becomes narrow and it cannot supply the blood. So an acute, next one is angina or angina pectoris. An acute chest pain due to carbon dioxide, due to oxygen deficiency to the heart muscles. It occurs due to the improper blood flow. It is common among the middle age and elderly. So it is a common for the middle age and elderly age people also. Next one is heart failure, heart attack. Cognitive heart failure or a heart attack. It is the inability of heart to pump the blood enough to meet the needs of the body, and congestion of a lungs is the main symptom. Congestion means contraction of the lungs is the main symptom. Becomes very difficult to have the heartbeat. So the heart stops to beat. So cardiac arrest is an electrical problem. So heart attack is a plumbing problem. So here heart stops beating. When the heart stops beating, we call it as a cardiac arrest. So next one is heart attack, cardiac arrest. It is the sudden damage of the heart muscle due to the inadequate blood supply. So different disorders are there. If the heart is not functioning well, if it is not pumping the blood in a good manner, different disorders may causes to the heart. So the heart suddenly it stops to beat and stop to supply the nutrients to the body parts. That we call it as a heart attack. So just let us see how the BP is controlled in our body. We'll have a small video about this. So once you can watch the video here, how the blood pressure is controlling. The force exerted by the blood on the walls of the blood vessel is called as blood pressure. You can see there. Blood pressure is measured by an instrument called as sphygmomanometer. The instrument name is sphygmomanometer. This pressure is greater in the arteries than in the veins. It is greater than in the veins. The pressure in the arteries during the ventricular contraction is called the systolic pressure, and the pressure in the artery during the ventricular relaxation is called as a diastolic pressure, and the arteries relax is called as diastolic. The normal systolic pressure is 120 mm for Hg and diastolic is 80 mm of Hg. Hg means is a mercury. So it is an instrument. High blood pressure is also called as hypertension. So up to now we discussed transportation in human beings. As like human beings, the nutrients also has to be transported in a plants, because plants are also living organisms. Now let us see transportation in plants. How the nutrients are transported in the plants. So some contents are there. They are the role of stomata, xylem, phloem, root hairs. These all participate in the transportation of plants. External resources. Now let us see how the transportation is taking place. There are two transport systems in a plant. One, the transport water and minerals from the roots to all parts of the vessels are called, and another vessel transport sugar, sucrose and amino acids in leaves to all the plant parts. These are called as phloem vessels. So, in plants, water and minerals will transported through the xylem, and the food and the nutrients are transported through the phloem in plants. So, are long, hollow, continuous tubes, you can see in the picture, continuous tubes that carry water and dissolved minerals from the root up to all parts of the plant. So, contain a tough substance called lignin that lies the walls to provide the support. The phloem tubes are living cells with the end tubes with pores, sieve plate. All cells contained have disappeared except the cytoplasm. So the phloem cells have companion cells near them. So the phloem cells transport sucrose and amino acids from where they made to where they are used to stored. They will transport. You can see that dicot stem vascular bundles. You can see the vascular bundles in a dicot stem and dicot root. So this is the structure of xylem. Cambium cells make a new xylem, new phloem and a plant growth. Epidermis is a single layer of a cells on the outside of the stem which protects the stem and cut down the water loss. And the vascular bundle is made up of phloem and the cambium xylem. These are the parts. Phloem carries the dissolved food and hormones around the plant. Xylem carries water and mineral salts up to the leaves. This is the structure of the root. Root hairs, they absorb the water and minerals from the soil. Phloem brings the food from the leaves which is used to make new cells, the root tip. Root cap protects the root tip as it grows through the soil. And the cortex stores the some food as starch. Xylem carries water and mineral salts up the stem. So, root tip grows as a cell divide. You can see from the soil particle, the root hairs, these are the root hairs. They are carrying, they are absorbing from the soil particles, they are collecting the water. You can see in the picture, xylem vessels are receiving the water and transporting the water. The roots absorb the water from the soil by the process of root pressure. Root pressure. Now you can see transpiration is another process. It is the loss of water vapor out of leaves. The excessive amount of water will be eliminated out of the leaf through the stomata. That process by the process of diffusion. Diffusion means transfer of the molecules from high concentration to low concentration. So excessive amount of water will be eliminated. Once you can see, just very simple, measure water uptaken by the plant shoots. Show that show that the transpiration takes place in the shoots. Show there are more stomata in the lower leaf of the plant. So just if you take a plant and keep it in the cover, and if you keep throughout the night or throughout the day under the sun, you can find the droplets inside the water, inside the cover. The droplets are nothing but the water which is eliminated through the stomata. That process we call it as a transpiration. So a photometer measures the rate of water uptaken. So the distance moved by the air bubbles can be measured every minute to show that rate of water uptaken. So the air bubbles can be moved back to the start position by transpiration. Water is not only lost by the transpiration in the leaves, it is also used by the leaves during the process of photosynthesis. They use the water by the process of photosynthesis. So that we call it as a photometer. So weather conditions, windy condition, speed, transpiration, rate of transpiration in wind, it is a speed because moisture around the leaf is blown away. Next one, humid condition, slow down the transpiration. So because air around the leaf is already full of moisture, and in the warm condition speed ups the rate of transpiration because evaporation occurs faster. And a light, when there is a light, speed up the transpiration and the stomata opens and excessive amount of water will be eliminated. Just we'll see the video, a small video of. So let us see how the transportation of nutrients are taking place in the plants. Transpiration in plants, transportation in plants. We'll see the transportation in animals in the same like way nutrients are transported in plants also. So as we discussed earlier, plants prepare their own food using simple compounds in organic sources, carbon dioxide, water along with some raw materials, that is the sunlight and chlorophyll, and photosynthesize energy in the presence of sunlight and store in the chlorophyll in the leaves. The chlorophyll. So the plants require raw materials like soil, nitrogen, phosphorus and other minerals to build their bodies. So to build the food components. So the plants absorb raw materials from the soil that help which are rich in the soil. If distance between soil, root and chlorophyll is small, energy needed is less and raw materials easily diffuses into the parts of the plant body. So if distance between soil, root and chlorophyll is large, it needs much energy and raw materials cannot diffuse easily because of excessive distance. In such cases, proper synthesis system transportation is essential. By the process of transportation, it will be helpful. The energy requirement of transpiration also varies according to the plants. As plants do not move and plant bodies have large dead cells in many tissues, as a result plant have low energy needs and use slow transport system. Very slow transport system will be takes place. So in case of tall plants, distance over the transport system is large. The transport system also large. Why do plants need the transport system? Why they need the transport system? Plants need water, minerals, salts and raw materials for the process of photosynthesis in order to their survival. So the water and minerals, salts from the soil transport into the plants. So these can also be transported through the water, carrying tubes in the stem, also known as the xylems, the tube-like structures. Producing of photosynthesis prepared in the leaves are to be transported to the other parts of the plant. So these can only transported by the food, carrying tubes, also known as the phloem tubes. The food is carried by the phloem tubes. In a xylem tissues, vessels and tracheids are the two types of transport tissues in plants. Both vessels and tracheids consist of thick cell wall. The walls will be very thick in a structure. So tracheids are the single celled, shorter in length, where the vessels are several cell and much longer than the tracheids. So in xylem vessels and the tracheids of a root, stem and leaves are interconnected to facilitate continuous water conduction system to all parts of the plant to support the water. The water transport upwards against the force of the gravity which helps to the xylem vessels. So in the movement of water, upward plants have two types of strategies. They maintain two types. Absorption of water. One is as the xylem vessel cells of a root are in the contact with the soil, it actively absorbs the water ions from the soil. So when root contact with the soil has more concentration water and roots has a less concentration. Obviously differences is a concentration of ions is present in between the root and the soil. It will be different in the roots and the soil. So to balance the difference in the water ions between the roots and the soil, water moves into which means of continuous movement of water into the xylem of a roots, which creates a column of water stably pushing upwards to the water due to the root pressure and ascent of sap. In a xylem, the flow of water is a bulk and negative pressure facilitates the movement of water minerals into roots, from the roots to the stem, and they used to. The next one is transpiration is nothing but of evaporation of water molecules from the stomata, leaves and the atmosphere. So stomata are the having a guard cells. So opening and closing of stomata control. The loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the plant is known as transpiration. So the loss of water molecules, evaporation of water molecules through the leaves creates the succession of the root pressure, pulls the water upwards through the xylem cells. So thus the loss of water through the stomata of our leaves are replaced by such a water through the xylem vessels into the leaf, xylem vessels to the leaf. It also helps in the temperature regulation, the stomata transpirate. During the transpiration helps in the conduction of water through the xylem vessels and maintain the balance of ions between the root and the soil maintained. So during the root pressure occurs due to the difference in the concentration, active ions between root and soil helps in the conduction of water from the soil. So next one is a phloem. Phloem is another conducting tissue in the transport food in the plants. The structures of the phloem consist of conducting cells called sieve elements, which are thick, circular and elongated cells, circular and they are elongated. The food that's synthesized in the photosynthesis are soluble products like sucrose and nutrients. So carbohydrates etc. are transported through the phloem upward and downward directions to all parts of the plant. All the directions the food will be transported. The transport of a soluble products of photosynthesis, we call it as a translocation. It can be done by using the energy in the ATP, adenosine triphosphate, produced by the photosynthesis. So phloem also transported the amino acids. These are especially transported to fruits, seeds to store the food, and the food is transported for the requirement of energy and the process of substitution of water and soil to the roots. So the plants used to store the food and balance the nutrients. So the food is transported by the phloem and the water is transported by the roots. This is the process how the plants used to transport the nutrients. So this is the transport system in plants and animals. Hope you understood how the nutrients are transported in the plants by the two processes. The water is transported by the two processes, that is, one is a root pressure and the next one is a transpiration, because in a high plants the root pressure may not be supported to reach to the end of the plant, tip of the plant. The transpiration column connects to the root pressure and helps to transport the nutrients to the tip of the plant. Okay, hope you understood, children. See you in the next session.